I am not William Wallace. I can assure you of that, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of a Scotsman Blathers about, and it is the one that most people have been waiting on. Just give me a couple of comments if you can hear me okay. New sound system, just making sure I've got it set up right to play properly. So please do let me know if you can hear everything and the sound is good. Yeah, I'm just waiting. Just give me a nod, a hell yeah, a comment of some loud and clear. Thank you, Jacob. Yes. Just, changing things and making sure everything's good. Yeah, we look good. So tonight, yes, it is the infamous episode, the episode that one and all have been waiting for. It is a Scotsman Blathers about Braveheart. And this is not Nick's fault, this is Paul's fault, okay? Paul wanted the bum flash Braveheart image, and I am quite worried. I don't think I've ever been this close to a man's bare arse in my life other than my own. Was it you as well, Nick? Yeah, jeez. It's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be brutal. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thought I could just excellent. Yes, yeah. Oh yes, the paint is done by my beautiful wife. We decided we'd put a spectacle on. So as you can see, I'm totally William Wallace, historically accurate, completely historically accurate, just like Wallace was. Yep, there we go. So the Braveheart edition. Oh my God. Right. Oh, you know what? I said to Krista earlier, I actually said this could be a really quick episode because I could just come on and basically say, okay, a Scotsman Blathers about Braveheart. It's shite, and just that's it. Episode's over. You know, I basically could do that, but I think that would be unfair to you guys. So I am going to do an honest show about Braveheart. I've realized that this button is going to be absolutely useless tonight. It is not probably going to be able to keep up with me at all. So we'll see how it goes. But before we begin with Braveheart, and by Braveheart, we're not going to do a historical discussion on William Wallace. Wait a minute. Oh, this is where all the cool kids are, right? Okay, yes, it is, Greg. This is where all the cool kids are. We're not going to talk about William Wallace, a historical figure, because basically everyone wants me to talk about Braveheart. But I do need to kind of give you a little bit of insight into William Wallace. The problem about Wallace as a character is a lot of our facts are really muddy about him, muddled up and all that, mainly because of a guy called Blind Harry. Now, if you don't know much about Blind Harry, he wrote a kind of a long poem, I suppose you could call it, about Wallace, but it was in the 15th century. It was about, I think roughly, did they say about 150 years or something after his death? So as we all know, through any sort of historical piece of writing, the guys in the Viking Society get this, anything that's written well after the point makes it really hazy. It makes it really difficult to follow the history of someone. In fact, there is actually a school of thought, and I don't quite believe this, actually wonder if Wallace existed. And the reason they say that is because he has been blown all out of proportion so much, almost akin to the Robin Hood tales that we have. So there's a lot of kind of stuff about Wallace, but there did appear to be a man called William Wallace. He was a lesser nobleman. His family were of lesser noble blood, but he was still effectively of the noble lineage, which meant he would have been trained in combat, he would have been trained in arms, and because he was actually the Wallace that we know about was the youngest son. It meant that he had only two options, and one was to become either a priest or the other was to go into military service to earn his way, usually as a mercenary. And the historical Wallace that we know of, it looks like from all the information and his coat of arms, he may have gone in to become a mercenary. In fact, here's a little cheeky note for you on Scotland's hero. There's a very good chance he might have actually fought with the English as an archer. His coat of arms, the Wallace coat of arms, was actually showing a bow and a bow in it. So there's a lot of kind of stuff there that basically kind of fight against everything that we're about to talk about in the classic historical piece known as Braveheart. William Wallace was a very unique person in Scotland, but there's a lot we don't know about him. And we're going to dispel a few myths as we go. Before we do this, though, Paul sent me a great wee video that I hadn't seen last night until last night. And I sat and watched it and I was pissing myself laughing. Because the guy, the screenwriter who wrote Braveheart, his actual surname was Wallace. And during the interview, he made this beautiful statement, which basically said, we don't really care about William Wallace as a person, his history, the facts. We just want to make a nice movie that basically anyone can enjoy. So what he basically said is, fuck Scottish history. We didn't care. We're literally going to just bastardize the whole thing and make it look really cool because we want to make a Hollywood blockbuster. And what that means is they could have literally done anything. They could have put aliens, space invasions, dinosaurs. They could have done it all. They could have put giant men with bare arses in the movie. Oh, they did. And it would have been a Hollywood blockbuster. So basically, the guy who wrote it was a bit of a you know what? It's going to fail me at some point, but he was. I'm going to say it. He was a bit of a C word. I try not to use that word in Canada because apparently the delicate Canadian ears don't like it. In Scotland, there are about 83 different variations of the meaning behind that word. So it gets very complex for people who don't come from Scotland. This is I don't know if I've got the energy for this, guys. Like, this is a 3-hour movie and I've actually got the movie on. I am literally gonna rip this movie apart, not scene by scene. We don't have 3 hours. In fact, we probably don't have 5 hours because that's how long it will take for me to go through every scene and effectively rip it limb from limb, which is what the English did to Wallace. Let me just check some comments here. Who's on? We've got Nick, we've got Greg, we've got Kat, I see, we've got Lindsay, Jacob, I think I saw him. Yes, I saw Jacob. We've got Paul, lovely. Excellent, yeah. Yeah, Paul, thank you for that History Buffs clip. That was wonderful. So, little bit of information. I've actually just got a wee bit of information up here about William Wallace, the man, and there's not much of it. Basically, William Wallace, he was 35 years old when he died, so he was a slip of a lad, a wee bit younger than myself, which means, hey, I'm much more heroic than Wallace because I survived into my 40s. Basically, there's not much about him. He was a member of lesser nobility, as I've said. Blind Harry wrote about him in the 15th century. There's a very good chance that the real Wallace was actually from Ayrshire, which is the kind of county, the zone where I was born. All great men come from Ayrshire. Basically, there's not much more about him. He's rather elusive. Oh, here's a great one. He wasn't married either. So anybody who's watching this that thinks they're a descendant from Wallace, I don't even know what button it is. Oh, give me a minute. I've got to load it up. That's all I've got to say. Anybody who genuinely believes they're a descendant from Wallace, that is the effect that I have for you. And the reason I say that is because there's two variations of the Blind Harry poem. The first one and the second one, all of a sudden, there's this Marian woman. Marian, yeah. I wonder if her name's showing up here. It's a very interesting name as well. I may not be able to see it. I don't think it exists on the actual proper history of the man. Oh, yeah. Marion Braidfoot. I love how even Wikipedia and that's got it as supposed. And the reason we say that is because effectively Marion Braidfoot didn't exist. She was from a different family in Scotland who paid Blind Harry to write her in so that they could claim lineage to Wallace and other things. And it was just great. This is how Scotland worked. We basically bribed our way into existence and therefore created the world. Yeah, there was no kids either, Jacob. There is no evidence of any family line. So anybody that claims to be a bloodline of Wallace, literally they're getting sold it because there's actually no bloodline evidence from Wallace at all, the actual William Wallace anywhere. So yeah, somebody might be descended to Wallace if he had bastards, but the problem is Wallace apparently was a bit of a Boy Scout. Yes. The only crime he ever committed and is noted for is him and an English soldier stole a barrel of beer. And that's pretty much it. So that's William Wallace. He wasn't exactly a Boy Scout, but apparently he was a rather virtuous man. Also bear in mind that Catholicism was very strong in Scotland. So the rhythm method, they were very good at it in those days. Also, the English tried to breed us out a lot. Right. Yep. Okay, folks, are you ready? Please let us begin this epic voyage into Braveheart. I've just got to make sure that this movie doesn't have sound because I don't want to get hit for copyright. So basically, we're loading up the movie. We all know it. I'm going to just say this, folks. I actually like Braveheart as a movie right up to the point where Mel Gibson appears. The score, the musical score is beautiful. The imagery is beautiful. The idea behind the movie is beautiful. They certainly do try to capture a very strong idea of Scotland. I love the fact that there is an incredibly strong Scottish cast, which makes me laugh because they cast the main idiot as, you know, Mel Gibson. But yes, absolutely outrageous. So, here on my screen, I have Braveheart playing, and I'm just waiting on that iconic thing because if you're gonna start a movie, all right, here's the thing, right? I'm gonna just say this right away to all you beautiful people out there. If you're going to do a historical movie, okay, just watching, get your fucking dates right. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. Just get your dates right. If you're going to base a movie on an iconic character from Scotland, please, God Almighty, get your dates right. And here it comes. The starting sequence, you know, the one they're riding through the forest, and it goes Scotland, 1280 AD. And then they go on to say something preposterous along the lines of Alexander, the King Alexander had died, and basically Scotland was thrown into turmoil. I did not know that a whole country could time travel, because apparently 1280, Alexander, I'm just checking it, is the third, yes. Alexander the Third had died in 1280, which is absolute nonsense. Alexander the Third actually died in 1286. He fell from his horse and died, leaving a little gap in the royal throne. However, was it his niece or granddaughter? The Maid of Norway, who was, it's going to be here in front of me, actually. Margaret, the Maid of Norway. the heir to the throne, his granddaughter, I was right, the Maid of Norway. What age was she, though? She was still a child. It doesn't tell me what age she was. I think she was about 9 years old or something ridiculous. Or was that the French princess? We'll get to all that later. A little bit of a sick, perverted twistedness going on in this movie. We'll talk about that. But yeah, the Maid of Norway, Alexander III's granddaughter, basically then became the next heir to the throne. However, she died before getting to Scotland, and that again left a huge gap. Not in 1280, okay? Not when this goddamn movie is set. No, that bloody nonsense writer with the audacity to have the surname of Wallace absolutely screws up with his timelines and basically says 1280 as opposed to 1286. Have we got that clear? Not 1280, 1286. 6 years after Braveheart is timed, the King Alexander dies, leaving a slight gap in the kind of royal throne lineage of Scotland. Glad we could get that cleared up. Let's move on. Yes, the French princess was 9. I think the Maid of Norway was also in that age group as well, if not a wee bit older. So, off the get-go, here is the problem with Braveheart, ladies and gents. It's all pish. Straight away, everything they have got on this movie is absolute nonsense, and it gets worse. Because as the movie progresses, we see a gentleman kind of farmer type in a kilt with his son, and this is William Wallace's father. Now, this implies William Wallace and his father were of good Scottish stock, you know, hard-working farming stock, but we already know, as I have established, that bloody William Wallace was of lesser nobility. They would have had a decent house. They would have had a reasonable setup, not too fancy, not too provocative, but they would have actually had somewhere to live, and he would have been training as a steward and to fight. None of this nonsense wearing fucking sacks and weird shoes, living in a hay barn. Absolute preposterous. Yes, that's right. Well, don't ruin it. We'll get to the princess later, unless you're talking about the maid. But yes, basically absolutely preposterous. And then you get this ridiculous scene of all these carcasses hanging in a barn, and poor wee Willie runs in and he's like, oh, dead people, and it's all shite. I mean, it's just they're creating, honestly, right. The problem with Braveheart is, this, you know, I'm going to repeat this. This is going to be the statement of the show. The problem with Braveheart is, okay, but I mean, it's like they haven't based this on history. They've taken a loose idea, but then they've just kind of went and taken generic Hollywood claptrap. And the history chap that Paul sent me put this beautifully. Literally, compare it to every movie that Mel Gibson's been in, particularly The Patriot, and it's exactly the same formula. So what we have here is either Mel Gibson has written a formula, this is how my movie's got to be, going all the way back to Mad Max, I may add. Oh no, my family got killed, I'm going to go seek vengeance. Braveheart. Oh no, my family got killed, I'm going to go seek vengeance. Patriot. Oh no, my family got killed, I'm going to go seek vengeance. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Lethal Weapon. Oh no, my bird got... bird, that's Scottish slang for female. Terribly sorry about that, folks. Oh no, my girlfriend got killed, I'm going to go seek vengeance. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. It's like, have you done nothing original in your life? It's all the same goddamn formula. And his smile and he's charismatic. Oh, look, I'm a very sexy man. And it's like nonsense. It's balderdash. I think the only movie that he didn't do that was that misogynistic claptrap, What Women Want or something, where he could hear women and basically they used it to basically bonk and shag a few of them. It was like, Jesus, man, this is ridiculous. Sorry. I used to like Mel Gibson as an actor when I was a bairn. I did. I thought he was a great actor, Lethal Weapon. But once you actually realise the passion of Christ, oh no, my religion's been killed. Let's seek vengeance. That one backfires on him, of course. But I'm pretty sure his father wreaks hell on Earth shortly after. Whew. It's going to get really warm in this studio really quickly, folks. The kilts and Paul, don't start. That's later. That's like, oh man, I can't even touch this side of my face. This is my stress side of my face where I'm like, I know I've got to do this, but this is my happy side. See, that's what Braveheart's missing. I really worried about these arses behind me. I don't even have a change of backdrop. The fact is, this is your fault, Paul. This is your fault. Yeah. Why do I sound jealous, Jacob? Yeah, passion of Christ. Oh, that's been rant activated. Right. Okay. Oh, Jesus. This is. You know what? We've not even got past the first. Where are we actually in the movie? We are exactly 3 minutes 30 seconds into the movie, folks, and I'm already 22 minutes into rant. I mean, have you guys got all night? Because we're going marathon mode on this. So here we are in this wee barn somewhere where all apparently the noblemen of Scotland got killed. Now, here's the problem again, right? Here is the problem with Braveheart. Apparently, this was the Scottish nobles that got killed. What does the world think of Scotland? Yes, we admit we're a wee bit gruff. We're a wee bit barbaric. Yes, we're a wee bit kind of sexy in our kilts. We know that. But look at, guys, I tell you now, go to the movie and basically it's something like, 3 minutes 30, 3 minutes 30 seconds onwards. And basically you see all these bodies hanging in the barn. Now, if you've not seen the movie, turn off this show. It's going to ruin the epic movie for you. But 3 minutes 30 in and you see all these dudes hanging in the barn. These are supposed to be the creme de la creme of Scottish nobility. And they all look, seriously, they look like a bunch of jakies you see doing Sauchie Hall Street on a Saturday night, absolutely puggled out their faces, vomit down their shirts, singing and hugging each other, and eventually getting into a really big scrap, because that's what they look like. They look like a stag night that's gone really, really wrong. And this apparently is Scottish nobility, which leads me on to what Jacob... no, not Jacob. Who was it? Was it Paul? Who mentioned kilts? Yes, Paul has mentioned about the kilts. So let's just get the huge giant arse that's in the room, and it's not me for once. It's not me. In the room. This is the 13th century. 1280. Oh, I can't even say with a straight face. 1286 onwards, folks, technically, if you're looking at history. This is the medieval times. Now, when the rest of the world is wearing medieval clothing, which would be tunics and what's the leg? Guys, help me out here. What's the things you'd wear on your legs? It's not stockings, it's something else. I can't remember. And you know, they'd be wearing kind of that sort of stuff. Trousery type items, etc. Pants for you guys in Canada. But they would be wearing 13th century garb. Now look it up. Look it up. Look up 13th century clothing. It is not the kilt. It is not sackcloth that Wallace, as a boy, seems to be wearing. I mean, what the hell have they got him wearing? He's wearing some ragtag shirt and a goddamn bit of cloth, a Hessian sack. So basically, here's the problem with Braveheart. Kilts didn't exist back then. They weren't known. There may have been some tartan sort of cloth about, but they weren't a common item back in the 13th century, particularly in the later scenes when going into battle. But we'll come to the battles later, and I promise you one thing, that's going to take some time. For a man who loves his history, for a man who's studied Scottish history, for a man who admires the antics of the Scotsman and his cavorting, drunken, rampant, violent ways, the warfare is a bit of a problem. Let's move on in the movie, though, folks. So here we go. Blah, blah, blah. Men hanging in a barn. Wee Wallace walks in. Oh, Jings, Crivens. Oh, dead people. Oh, he starts to have wee dreams. Next thing, his dad's like, hey, let's go and get in a fight with the English. Because here's a really weird bit of logic. Oh, the noblemen have been wiped out. So let's go pick a fight with the English. Which would be, oh.
Where are you going? I'm going to pick a fight.
Okay, don't get me fucking started. But, you know, and they go to pick a fight, and apparently, Braveheart or William Wallace's father and brother both die. Didn't happen. Just I'm putting it out there. Didn't happen. Mainly because the Ragman roll shows, I think it's Alan Wallace's father, many years after this supposed, slightly inaccurately timeline. See, the problem with Braveheart is, okay, it really fucks the timelines out, because I'm trying to talk about history here at the same time as balancing it off this piece of oh, look, there's a dragon in the background. Oh, no, it's not. No, I thought we got lucky and maybe they just made it a kind of fantasy movie. No. No, but that's the problem. I'm trying to balance up this kind of whole thing with history here, the proper history in this movie, so it makes it really different. But the Ragman role has Alan Wallace, which I believe is his father. I'm just checking here. I've got something here, and a bit of paper in my mouth, apparently, or a bit of foam that I've just inhaled. Oh, geez, I can't find it now. I've got the wrong page up to get that name. Oh, wait a minute. There'll be something about his no, can't see it. Don't know who his father was. I think it was Alan. But yeah, Alan Wallace. There you go. See, I know my shit. Apparently, they also have Wallace in Renfrewshire, but apparently all the Ragman roll stuff is from Ayrshire, which was kind of a census at the time. But yeah, so again, still alive. No reason for young Wallace to get upset. But then we get this beautiful scene, you know, Wallace is waiting. Oh no, and then he comes back, and there's that wee heroic moment, you know, where he's like, he stands there, right? And he knows his brother and his dad are dead, and he just stares, and he's like mustering himself. So the men don't see him crying, because that's what all Scottish guys do. You see, we're so stony. In here, there's a bit of flint that is basically surrounded by a bit of ice, which is surrounded by about 4 pounds of cardiac arrest with all the fatty diet we have. And we refuse to show emotion. And that's what the young boy does, just in case anyone didn't quite get that. However, the mullet still confuses me. Don't quite understand the mullet. And we're only 9 minutes into the movie, folks. It's going to be a long night. So anyway, Wallace's dad dies, yada, da, da, da. They tell wee Wallace, for some reason, they get the boy to look at the dead bodies. It's kind of like some weird thing. I don't know why. Then he gets buried, blah, blah, blah. And then we get that great scene, you know, the burial. Oh, everyone's like, oh, they died. Oh. And this is a bit of love, right? Because at the end of this little scene, and you get that very beautiful scene where the wee lassie, Murren, I think they've called her in the movie, she grabs a thistle and she plucks it with her bare hands. Now, I don't know if anyone knows about the Scottish thistle, but it's a wee bit of an aggressive flower. And to pluck it so easily with your bare hands, one, would be rather painful, but also very difficult because they're quite tough stalks. So straight away, we have some romantic Hollywood nonsense. But then she walks up to young Willie and she hands him the flower, and they stare at each other almost quite horrifically, romantically. But okay, maybe not. He stares at her with a kind of idea which is to suggest that I love you, which he then emphasizes later on. The poor wee lassie, she's a bonny wee lassie, but she's a fair glaikit looking wee thing. Go and watch it. I kid you not. She's all kind of like, she doesn't look like she's there. I don't know if she was too young to take acting direction. Maybe they just pulled her off the street. They found some homeless child or something and said, here, you do this wee act. You're only in it for a couple of minutes. We'll give you some heroin afterwards. It'll be fine, love. And she's just kind of standing there going, and it's a weird image. And every time I see that scene, I'm just like, he takes it with this one, he's and he's like smouldering. This wee laddie smouldering with tears coming down his face. And a weird fucking mullet. And she's all like, bit of drool running down her face. I'm really sorry to the actress that played that part. I hope that her career was magnificent from there on in, or she did something sensible and went and got a degree, became a lawyer and sued Mel Gibson. One or the other. Good thing, guys. Let me just check that I'm not insulting anyone too much here. Pants and leg wraps, yep. Hose and brace, yep. Wait, you don't show emotion. No, I'm stony. I'm stony. Why does she give him cow feed? Yes, I know. It's the symbol of Scotland. That's the other thing. So it's not enough just to say, here's a wee flower. It's like, no, this is a thistle. I'm going to give you a thistle because it's representative of Scotland. Probably, now, somebody maybe could look this up for me, but I don't know when the thistle became recognised as a symbol of Scotland. I'm going to maybe wager it wasn't in the 13th century. So again, little bit of artistic license from Big Mel and his ego playing Wallace. Yes, see, Connor's here. Connor Buick, had him as a guest. Connor is a Scotsman. His dad's Scottish. And he's agreeing with me. Thistles are like, you know how Australia wants to kill you, okay? Well, Scotland's got a select few things that you just don't mess with. The hairy coos one, because they're really aggressive. Nessie, haggis, and thistles. Thistles are not a nice plant. They basically are pokey, jaggy, sore things. You guys, have you ever grown pumpkins and you get all the wee barbs on the pumpkin plants? That's child's play compared to a thistle. Anyway, let's move on. Isn't she supposed to be tough Scottish stock? She's gormless Scottish stock in this movie. The way that they've got her doing that face, the poor wee lassie. I'm making fun of her, but I feel for her because it's just, it doesn't, I don't know. Scotland's national flower, prickly and hard to eradicate. Yes, just like the Scots. Unless, of course,
The trouble with Scotland is that it's full of Scots.
and we are proud of that little island. 1280s. Oh. Okay. Thank you, Connor. So the thistle was adopted as Scotland's national flower in 1286. Here is the problem then. Braveheart's set in 1280 with the wrong timeline. So again, they're blending a little bit of history and just mashing it together. I'm still waiting on the ogre. I should do this with movies that I've never watched. That would be a long show, but I think it would be fun. I'm probably going to die of an asthma attack with all the smoke and stuff that's been going on. Okay, so let's move on. Let's get past Glaikit Mooran's face. And then we get to a wonderful Scottish actor, Uncle Argyll. Brian Cox appears, and this is what I mean. Braveheart has this wealth of great actors, Scottish, Irish, everything, English actors, and yet they cast that in a wrinkly Australian cockwomble into the classic kind of, I mean, the man's like, he's tiny. It's like Wallace was supposed to be, he was taller than your average Scot at the time. They reckon he was over 6 foot. But the fact is, Mel Gibson's, he's about 4'8" or something, and that's in high heels. When he puts on even, his Cuban heels, he's maybe 4'9". And yet, the goddamn, yeah. But yes, Brian Cox, wonderful Scottish actor, appears. And of course, you know, they have that wee scene where he's like, oh, you know, you didn't want your mother to die either. That's quite a brutal but accurate depiction of Scots. So they fucking died. Move on. You know, life's out there. Yes, 7 foot tall and could shoot lightning bolts out his arse. I know. But yeah, so he comes and they've got that wee scene. And that's very touching. And you know, he's like, I'm going to take you away and train you in the sword. And, you know, before you use this, remember to use this. But there's a wee scene that happens. Now, let me just... Oh, yeah. There's this scene.
What are they doing?
Saying goodbye in their own way. Playing outlawed tunes on outlawed pipes.
It's so emotional. And the reason the pipes were outlawed was because basically they were Irish pipes. So they were so outlawed, they had to go all the way over to Ireland and get a bagpipe player to come. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the whole soundtrack of Braveheart doesn't have a Scottish pipe in it. They are Irish pipes. That whole sequence is Irish pipes. Now, also historically, at this point, from what I've researched, there actually was no evidence to say the pipes were outlawed or the tunes were outlawed. That came a lot later during the Jacobite rebellion. Certainly, there would have been times in between, but the pipes at the time in Scotland were not they never have been, you know my theory, fucking wrestling an octopus and fucking pumping it full of air. But the pipes at that point were never used for tunes. They were war pipes. They were an intimidation tactic. They were designed to put the willies up your enemy with this cacophony of noise. And if you've ever been on the Royal Mile, it still happens to this day. So basically, again, here we have absolute bloody nonsense. And I look back at Brian Cox, and this is the first time I've ever lost respect for him. But when you actually see him in the movie, you actually think, I don't think he's really enjoying this movie. I don't think he's liking it. I mean, he's an Irishman, actually, if memory serves. He was raised in Scotland, but born in Ireland. But he's still a tremendous actor. Now, folks, I just want to point out, this show's now been going for 38 minutes. I've only got to about 13 minutes in the movie, so I probably should move this on a little. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, he rides off with young Wallace. Young Wallace has a wee dream about his dad. Oh, make it live, outlawed pipes, yada, yada. Then we move on. A wee flash forward, I think it's about 20 years, they say, and we're now in England, where Edward the second, not Edward the First, that's his father. Oh my God, I'm getting so excited here. Yeah, Edward the Second is getting married to the French princess. Oh, it's so beautiful. But as we've already discussed, the French princess was only about 9 years old at the time of Wallace. She was betrothed to Edward II, but she was not married, and she was definitely not the rather lovely creature that they have acting the French princess. What's this also have been possibly used before, but bagpipes were not often used until yeah, there's evidence of them being used in history, Jacob, but they were much more rudimentary, and it was a noisemaker. It was intimidation, banging your shields, raising your kilt. Oh, but they didn't do that because this is shite. They didn't have kilts to raise. And let's be honest, as a reenactor, we all know how difficult it is to untie your breeches and drop them to wiggle your bits at an audience. It's just not the done thing either. Anyone that's wanting to book a reenactment group, we have at no point wiggled our bits at an audience, okay? Maybe Greg has, but not anyone else. Anyway, yeah, so Edward II marries the French princess. Edward I looking on for rather sleazy kind of attitude. Now, here's where they have actually done quite a good job, because Edward I, the hammer of the Scots, Longshanks, was an absolute bastard. And they have got a great actor portraying him in the movie. So you get a sense of the malevolence and the hatred for the man, for this man and who he was as a ruler. Very tactical, very intelligent, very driven. And he hated the Scots because we were defiant of his kingdom. Lindsay, that's just the conversation for a different time. Jacob, seriously, buy a kilt, man. The key statement of the night. So yes, here we go. Edward II marrying the princess, and you see that scene where he's ogling the laddie behind, and he kisses her on the cheek, and that's because he was certainly more into the gentlemen than the ladies. But we've also got to bear in mind, in that time, that wasn't actually as racy. It wasn't actually as much an issue as you would think. As a prince, he would know his duty would be to basically create heirs. So although he definitely favoured the men, he would have still had a little bit of hanky-panky, or as Blackadder puts it, rumpy-pumpy, with his wife, his queen, because he wanted to create heirs. Heirs created succession, meant they stayed on the throne. The family lineage continued. So although Edward II was reputedly into his gentlemen, he would have still stuck it where it needed to be stuck when it needed to be stuck. He might not have enjoyed it as much as sticking it inside the gentleman, but he would have still done it because it was his duty to produce heirs for the throne. Let's move on. Let's not get into a debate about that. So yeah, here we go. Blah, blah, blah. The marriage. Longshanks not impressed. Then you have the War Council. And that's, of course, where you get the
trouble with Scotland is that it's full of Scots.
Right. And he then makes a statement, well, the problem with Scotland is it's full of Scots, and let us reenact prima nocta to breed them out, which again didn't happen. No, sorry, there is very little evidence to say that that was actually enforced. Now, I'm not saying that the English lords at the time didn't basically just do what they wanted to. And that's the problem, folks. There would have definitely been a lot of raping, pillaging. There may have been women taken on their marriage night to the English. The thing is, there's not much evidence to say they ever returned, so I don't know what happened. Chances are these poor women killed themselves rather than, sleep with an Englishman? Really? Who would? But basically, yeah, prima nocta, as they say in the movie, didn't really happen. So again, it's just this farcical nonsense to try and create this storyline. Now, here's the thing. If you read the history, they didn't need to do this. They didn't even need to mess with the Scottish English history. There is so much juicy stuff there as it is that basically it was perfect. All the guy that wrote this, the Wallace guy who wanted to put dragons and ogres and fucking a clown in there masturbating a goat, he was a Wallace. All he needed to do was properly look at the history, and he could have just went, holy shit, this is dark and mean and nasty, and these poor Scots guys are getting massacred, but they're fighting back. This is a great story. But no, he decided, I'm going to basically up the ante. I'm going to give Wallace a wife. I'm going to make him a farmer. I'm going to make a 9-year-old princess 20, something like that, and rather tasty looking. I'm going to basically really enhance Eddie II's kind of campness, yada, yada, yada. And what's with that laddie with the face? You know, the guy that's like, oh, here's my war councillor. And that guy's all like really chiseled with the hair. And he's like, hello, yes, hello, Prince. Hello, Kingy, I guess. Woo! And it's like, honestly, sorry, I'm not being homophobic here, folks, but they really put some awful stereotypes in there. And it was ridiculous. And also the chiseled face of that guy, I'm sorry, that's not an English face. That's not a Scottish face. It's ridiculous. This is a Scottish face, right? It's kind of like a potato which has had a hacky sack wrapped over it. Okay, it's got a little bit of features, but most of the time, if you push a bit, it will kind of stay like Play-Doh in that where you've pushed it. You could put a finger into my cheek and my cheek will kind of stay there. We're just a weird kind of potato-y sack race of people. That's another thing when you see William Wallace, Mel Gibson with his top off, and he's all chiseled and muscly, and he's all got a six-pack, and you're just sitting there going, really? The guys would have been wolf lean simply because they're hungry and they're working hard on the farms, but they wouldn't have had six-packs or been chiseled. We didn't have the facilities. There wasn't a gym back then. You couldn't just go to pure gym. Could I have a couple of weeks membership, mate? Aye. Oh, on you go. What's coming up? Oh, I can't. Fucking Battle of Stirling's coming up. Just want to get the abs going and get the old fucking lunges going so my arse is nice and tight when I lift up my mythical kilt and show off my arse and penis to the English. You know what I'm saying. What's being said here? Yes, yeah, well, that's it. I mean, they over-enhanced it. Mosquito rooms coming up, yeah. Danger zone, yes, Nick. Totally danger zone. I'm in the danger zone. Yeah, I've got to, I'm going to just hit,
I'm dead sexy.
yeah, that's the danger zone I'm in. Okay, protein in that day and age. Who ate that much protein? Yeah, 6 pounds on purely body fat percentage, not lifting. Jacob, I don't want the technicalities. Just roll with the rant. They wouldn't have had such definition. So yes, here we go. Where are we? We're almost an hour, and I've not even got past the. We're not even half an hour in. We're only 20 minutes into the movie. So here we go. Yeah, yada yada. Sends his wife to the council. Then all of a sudden we jump back. Now we jump to Scotland, and it actually says, where does it say it? And this fucking makes me laugh. Where is it? They say something that they're in Edinburgh. Right. Can't remember where it is. They basically say that there's, oh, here it is, yes. It flashes up Edinburgh, and what you've got is a castle in the background and a really rickety looking wee shanty town of wooden huts and fucking like we hay and all that, thatched roofs. Right. Now, folks, here's where I've got a problem, because there you've got Robert the Bruce, and they say this is Edinburgh, and clearly that's Edinburgh Castle behind them. And Robert the Bruce there. Couple of problems here. Wallace and Bruce never visited Edinburgh. So see when you go to Edinburgh Castle and you see those two statues at the front, and apparently it's that statue at the front that inspired the guy Wallace to write this movie, because when he asked somebody who it was, the person stupidly responded, "That's our greatest hero of all time." And then this American idiot went, "Oh, I'm going to put him riding a dragon." And somebody went, "No, too far." But yeah, so Wallace and Bruce never visited Edinburgh. Never. So the statues are nonsense. Secondly, if you go to the scene of Edinburgh, remember I've talked about Edinburgh in my tours and some shows. Edinburgh Castle was fairly defined by this point. It wasn't just one rickety tower. The city of Edinburgh was fairly defined by this point. Certainly a little bit more evolved in a few shanty town huts with fucking thatch roofs. So when I see this, it really gets me fucking pissed off, because it's like they've basically made Scotland look like a bunch of sheep shagging fucking Neanderthals. And that's the problem. It's like there's no civilized zone. Later on in the movie, you know, the little village with the wooden keep and all that and blah, blah, blah. It's like they've got us living in like hobbit holes. Did anyone notice that? There's hobbit holes. It's like this writer's like, let's just take Lord of the Rings. Let's just take Mad Max. Let's just take fur coats and we'll throw in some kilts. Okay, and we'll give them ridiculous weapons and a really gay prince and an overage princess, and we'll just put it together in a big mixing pot. I'll pull out my cock, I'll piss all over it, and we'll call it Braveheart. I don't appreciate that, Paul. Asshole. Bloody colonials should know their place. Sorry, right. So yes, so we move into Edinburgh, which is absolutely farcical. Then all of a sudden, wee Willie returns to see his destroyed farm and worn down farm, which never existed, because they want to create this rural chap. They then get to the wedding scene, and you know the wedding scene. That's when the nobleman comes and takes the wife, and they're all about to have a scrap. That's when Hamish. Oh, I've got to be careful saying Hamish, or the dog's going to come to the door. Hamish, you know, does the stone throwing thing, and he misses them because they're making that statement that they're not allowed to fight or train with weapons. Oh, that's yeah. Wait a minute, what's Connor? Oh, Connor, you went there. Awful. And this is where he sees the beautiful wife to be, Murren, and he gives her back the thistle. And I just want to point out, if you look at that thistle, the thing that he's got pressed, it's just fucking ridiculous. I mean, honestly, it looks like paper mache and fucking cotton candy. It's awful. They have the wee dance. Wedding split up and life moves on. And then he starts to shag Murren behind the dad's back. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it's a very Scottish thing. You know, we don't like parents to know that we're having a wee bit of rumpy-pumpy going on. It goes on and on, you know, there's special meetings happening. Wallace is like, no, I'm going to stay out of trouble. I don't want to fight. Which is exactly the same quote that he uses in The Patriot. I'm just pointing that out. Watch The Patriot. He's like, no, I don't want to get involved in your troubles or fight the English. Wallace is like that. Oh, no. I didn't want to fight the English. I can't do a bad Scottish accent, folks. I'm sorry, other than the one that I've learned all my life. So yeah, the movie goes on, charming, entertaining. As I say, this is actually, I like the movie up until, let's just get this right. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So the movie's great until about 20 minutes, 55 seconds, because that's roughly, no, 21 minutes, 19 seconds, because that's when Mel Gibson appears. So that's how it all progresses. That's your precursor. Wallace then starts banging the chap's daughter. They marry secretly because he doesn't want his wife to get the nobleman's inner on their marriage night. Not that actually existed. We've already established that, folks. Oh, jeez, this is going somewhere. And then basically we move on. You know, all of a sudden. Now here's the thing, right? We have that scene. Right, let's move on. Where are you? They've got married. There's Mel Gibson naked. There's a set of breasts on my screen. She has very, very lovely, a very lovely figure. I will ask. She's a fine Scottish actress with a very lovely figure. And I have Mel Gibson half naked, which is rather repugnant. Can someone also explain his goddamn hair? Like, what is that fucking hair all about? I mean, it's just, I don't get it. It's just crazy. What's this? Oh, yeah. Let's not go there. The Scots were a proper race. There was no bastards in Scotland, I'll tell you that. But yes, it moves on. There's a wee bit of rumpy-pumpy. Then they get to that beautiful wee scene where basically they're flirting in the village. All of a sudden, one of the soldiers, now, I don't know, it's never kind of said, does he realize they might be married, or does he just look at this lassie and think, I'm having a wee bit of her? And they try to basically rape her. Wallace comes in and saves her. She rides off. He puts on an art. Like, I love this scene where he runs out wearing the English surcoat and all that, but he's still got his kilt on. And nobody notices it's him. He runs off to their secret meeting place, not realizing that she's been whacked across the face with a great muckle spear, and she's now about to die. Basically, she dies. There's a wee bit of tears and all that. And then your next scene is the heroic scene where he's riding into the village with his weird nunchucks. And he basically, with a band of men, sack this little fortress and burn it to the ground. Did actually happen. That is a little bit of history which did happen, but there is no explanation as to why in history. I want to stress this, that in the history books, they don't actually have a justification. They believe it might be because the English actually took the Wallace family lands from them, effectively making them outlaws, and this was his vengeance. There was no bird, there was no lassie, there was no wife, there was no child. Basically, this romantic claptrap that they're showing is just nonsense. He comes, kills them, and basically it all begins from there. The great adventures of William Wallace. Now, historically, he was an actually very able-bodied fighter. He was very tactically sound, although most of his tactics came from, I'm going to say Monroe, but it's not Monroe. It's Maury. Andrew Maury, his good friend, was more of the tactician. But basically, Wallace and Maury, this is when all the fighting started. Now, in the movie, you have this heroic thing where Wallace basically takes out a whole fort with a ragtag band, yada, yada, slices the throat of the nobleman. This kind of did happen. Then you have the little funeral scene. There's a lot of crying. He falls on his knees asking for forgiveness. He's given forgiveness. I'll tell you one thing, folks, in Scotland, if you get your daughter killed by some hairy, half-arsed Australian, no, we're not going to forgive him. We are going to hunt him down, and I don't care if he's a patriot, I don't care if he's William Wallace, I don't care if he's goddamn Mad Max. We are going to find that man, and we are going to basically cut off his balls and then slice him in half with a claymore. End of story. There is no forgiveness for getting your children slaughtered under any circumstances in Scotland. He glued a dead fox to his head. It looks like it. Another tie-in to the Robin Hood legend. Yeah, totally. So, yeah, we move on. Few guys get injured. They do that really fun scene where the guy gets the hot poker in his chest, all that stuff. Pour on the whiskey. Ha, ha, ha. And then it kind of goes into some antics to set the scene where Wallace takes a few forts. Now, this did happen. He was a skirmish fighter. It's one of the things the Scots are very good at. We would never have been a well-equipped or well-trained army in Scotland. That's one of the things we've never been able to do. They talk about the heavy cavalry. That's something that ruined us on many an occasion. So we did literally do guerrilla warfare, and Wallace was a master at it. And basically, there are accounts of him taking out troops and taking out fortifications and disappearing into the mists. And, you know, that sort of thing. We then move on to the son getting slapped and punched by his dad for being a Jessie. That's an affectionate Scottish term for just being a wee bit soft. There's that chiseled, weird-looking guy. Right, see his kind of boyfriend in the movie with the chin and the mouth. I don't know what it is. He just reminds me of a really creepy clown. Put on some face makeup on that laddie, and he's just going to be a really creepy looking clown type guy. But yeah, lots of fighting, burning. The English retaliating, of course, that did happen. Basically, the one problem with Scotland is we didn't have the armies. We were too busy fighting each other, squabbling. You know, at this point, there's a big fight for the royal throne. That also amuses me because you've actually got the noblemen all squabbling, and you've got Robert the Bruce saying, it's my rightful throne. And you've got Balliol going, it's my rightful throne. And that's bullshit. Balliol was not the guy putting himself forward. It was the Campioun clan, the Campioun family. Balliol was just the figurehead they were using, not the actual, like, he would never have petitioned for himself. That was just crap. Read your history, you arsehole. So basically, they're fighting. There's a lot of squabbling. So that kind of thing was happening in the background. And that's why the Scots could never get together, because we were too busy fighting, butchering, and shagging each other's sheep, stealing each other's sheep to really kind of get a cohesive argument or fighting force together. But yeah, you get all these wee fun scenes where, you know, Wallace is doing all this stuff, trapping the English and wiping them out. Then you move on to, you know, the scenes where Robert the Bruce and his father, his leprous father. Now, I can't remember, I never checked this. We actually had an heir in Prestwick, Bruce's Well. Now, Bruce's Well was supposed to be filled with water that would cure ailments. And I can't remember if his father actually did die of leprosy. There was rumours that Robert the Bruce had leprosy as well, but I don't think any of it was founded. I will need to double check that though. I know Bruce didn't, but I can't remember if his father had leprosy. But yeah, we move on to all these beautiful scenes and all these beautiful moments in the movie. I'm just checking if I'm oh, I forgot
I could crush you like a worm.
that's when he's throwing the stone. I'd crush you like a worm. And it's like, really, would you? Would you? Like, your friends just arrived back and you're going to scunner his head in with a great rock. It doesn't seem sensible to me. It's getting dry in here, folks. So we move on, leprous father. Then we go to the Queen with that little seductive talk about, ooh, the Englishmen don't know what to do with their tongues. Just because they had to put in a wee saucy moment, didn't they? Then you get all the kind of stuff with the Scots all camping out and new recruits coming. And then you get Stephen, one of my favourite characters, because basically just a mad Irishman. Didn't happen. Just want to point that out. There was no Irishman there. The Irish and the Scots, we like each other, but we're very different people. And to be honest, we always felt a bit superior to them for obvious reasons. But no, there was no Irishman there. All that, again, a little bit of fancifulness, a little bit of kind of myth and legend. And as we move on, you know, we've got the hunting and we've got Stephen saving them and saying, ha ha ha, that's my island and all that. Ha ha. Almighty says, I'm getting out of this, but he says you're fucked and all that shit. I do a bad Irish accent, folks. But then again, who doesn't? So yeah, we move on, more people, and then we get to that great scene. And this is where it begins, folks. Oh, this is where it begins. I'm going to take a moment just to breathe. Just. You know what? I'm just going to take a moment because we're about to get into this.
Christ, I'm getting all emotional from it, you know.
It's happening. We're getting to it. I give to you, ladies and gentlemen, the Battle of Stirling Bridge. Yep. Stirling Bridge. If anyone is going along the movie of Braveheart, 1 hour, 14 minutes, we hit the Battle of Stirling Bridge, where you see the English and the Scottish armies. And this is where it gets outrageous, because there you have the English and their armour and their shields and their spears and their horses, and they're all very shiny. You know, they're all knightly and, you know, they're all footmen and they're all properly dressed. And then you have the sackcloth kilted Scotsman. So basically what you have here is you have the hammer and you have the sheep. That's the best way to put it. They're all wearing cloth. There's no armor. They've got very poor. There's a guy with a stick. For God's sake, there's a man holding a stick here. I mean, I'm actually looking at that scene. There's sticks. There's farming implements. This is fairly accurate to a degree. We didn't necessarily have full weaponry, but we did have at least decent goddamn clothing to wear that would protect us, because this is preposterous. We basically have a group of men standing there wearing nothing. They're wearing cloth against heavily armed men. Then they do the usual thing, folks. Yes, they do the barter. Well, we'll give you this and this if you piss off. We can't be bothered fighting you. So you can have some more land titles, and you, sir, you can have a couple of extra sheep because we know. We know. And basically, if you can just take these asshole Scots home, us English, we'll go have tea, and tally ho, we'll create more of an empire, we shall. Yes, how lovely. And of course, most of the time, the Scots noble went, oh, aye, you're giving us more land, titles, and gold. And they got bought off, so a lot of the fights didn't happen. But of course, then William Wallace rides in as the Scots are saying that fate. Come on, lads, I'm no down for these arseholes. William Wallace and his men ride in. Now, my wife pointed out something very interesting here. She did point out that they're not on ponies or palfreys. They're riding proper horses. So again, Jesus Christ, Hollywood, get your facts right. Anyway, they ride in. And that's when you get those beautiful speeches. I'm William Wallace. No, you're no William Wallace is 7 feet tall. Oh, fuck, I'm on a horse, man. Seriously. I am William Wallace, and if he was here, he would shoot lightning bolts from his arse and fart, God save the Queen. And basically, he rouses these men into this dramatic sort of speech. And then he comes away with that, of course, that beautiful...
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
And all the Scots lose their shit because they're like, you're totally right, William. And then, of course, it doesn't go through their head. Well, we're actually still free. You know, we are free in our own country. There's none, you know, I mean, absolute nonsense. No Scottish man in his right mind has ever shouted freedom, and I emphasize in his right mind. Okay? Okay? This is all claptrap, heroic nonsense. But the problem actually is, folks, ignoring all that beautiful speech that gets your arm hairs and the hairs on your back of your neck going, and you're all like, oh my God, that's a great speech we got.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
I mean, who isn't he getting slightly hard just hearing that heroic piece? And that's all very well. It's all very beautiful, you know, and they come up with the idea of the big long spears, which is bullshit, by the way. Bullshit. We'll talk about that in a wee bit. But there is one slight problem, and I don't think I actually have an image. I did have a screenshot of this at one point, but I think I accidentally deleted it. Give me a second, folks. I'm just going to look something up because I need to emphasize something here. I really need to point something out really obviously. Okay. Where are we? Actually, I should have it here. Give me a second, folks. I just realized it's very important I do this. No, not the covered in bees. Okay. It's coming. Okay. Scene from Braveheart behind me, folks. The Battle of Stirling Bridge. There is a grand prize for nobody if you can tell me immediately what is wrong with this scene. Battle of Stirling Bridge. What is wrong with this scene? Nobody? No? Not obvious? No fucking bridge, exactly. If you watch the movie, what you basically have is you have a big field with the English and the Scots at either side, all shouting, and then you get the kilt waggling and the penis shaking, and then the arrows coming in, which miraculously most of the Scots survive, even though they're wearing fucking a sheep on their back, and have the worst goddamn shield. Did anyone else notice the Viking shields? Like, I get it. There would have been a variation, but most of these were definitely fucking Viking shields. Completely weird as fuck, the whole thing. But anyway, there's no bridge. And this is very important to them winning Stirling Bridge. So when this happened, there was none of this big, oh, we've got a big fucking tree that we're going to jab into you. Ha, you never saw that coming, did you? There's none of that in Stirling Bridge. What actually happened in the battle is Wallace and Moray, they actually used the environment to their favour. What they did is they forced the English across the tiny bridge of Stirling, which I believe could only take about 2 men abreast. What then happened is they were hiding in the forest waiting, and when a sufficient amount of the army came across, I think they say about 6,000 to 8,000 Scots, don't know if I've got a figure here, basically charged 8,000, yeah, no, that's the English, yeah, I don't know, I can't remember the numbers now, but basically the Scots routed them, they absolutely wiped them out and then kind of blocked the bridge. So it was a great victory for Wallace because he used the tactics. I saw the bridge. I saw. Oh, yeah, Paul said it. Okay. Yeah, I'm too excited. Actually, guys, those comments must have all come at once because I was looking at a wee bit back and then they didn't appear. But anyway, yeah, You know, it's slow. There's a delay, even at my end, because my brain's this face paint, man. It's overheating me. Wouldn't it be funny if I'd taken a leisure reaction to this, and tomorrow I've got like a half a red face and then a big fucking smiley. Anyway, yeah, so we routed them. We actually routed. It was a great victory for Wallace. But the problem with the movie is they didn't bother with any of those details. And one of the scenes I love. Sorry, it's the COVID must have got me. They basically run at each other, and I always think this is a great moment. You can easily look at the English and the Scots running at each other, and then they just bang in the middle, and it's like this is really just like most of them would have got fucked up on the impact. There wouldn't have been that many men to fight, and then the rest would have tripped over. They'd have been like arse over elbow. It would have been an absolute comedy moment. History would have been comical. The whole thing. Just ridiculous. Darling, you'll hear this for the rest of your life. You married me, okay? You will hear the Braveheart rant for the rest of your life. So yeah, absolute joke. I mean, like romanticized nonsense, forgetting the goddamn bridge. I mean, it would have been even, you know, I'd have even settled for a Monty Python moment where they just stuck a weird bridge in the middle of the field and maybe just like, see if they just dug a wee, like, I don't know, just a wee rut and poured a bucket of water in it would have looked better. You know, and have that moment where the English are all like, oh shit, we can't get over this little stream. We'll need to use that bridge. And Wallace is like, they're going, my cunning plan has worked. You know, just one of those moments would have been awesome. But no, they didn't even bother with that. Yeah, I got in the way. Yeah, it got in the way of filming. I know, Lindsay. And that's the ridiculous thing. Like, literally, you're doing a historic movie and it got in the way. One of the most important bits of the movie gets in the way. So we move on. The Scots fight, the wee argy-bargy, bit of clashing. They kill all the horsemen. All nonsense. Wallace is covered in blood. What I love is he's fighting with a claymore. Now, I know I've got some people that love their weapons and do a little bit of combat stuff. If anybody's ever handled a proper Highland claymore, it's no for swinging about in a battlefield like he does. He's doing parry, block, twist, backflip, ooh, somersault, ooh, jab, thrust, ooh. But a claymore is a muckle. It's like, it's been described as effectively an axe that looks like a sword. It's a huge muckle piece of weaponry, and it's actually designed as a horse sword. The purpose of it was simply this. Some guy's charging towards you on a horse. You hack the legs of the horse with a claymore. When he's on the ground, you pummel the claymore into him. It's no for swinging about, or you basically wedge it into the earth as the horse comes. The accounts of the use of the claymore is you would send about 20, 30 men, the biggest, brawniest men, into the ranks of the enemy, swinging these things about and causing disarray and carnage. But they had a limited timeline because the damn thing was so unwieldy and cumbersome that these guys could only use it for so long before they had to go to their short swords, their half-langs and all that, to fight properly in combat. So this nonsense of him going, woo-hoo, look at me, folks, I can fling a boot. It's just nonsense. John Wick of Scotland. Don't even insult John Wick. John Wick is classic. The thing is, right, guys, you don't see this. I've actually got Mel Gibson on my screen. It's paused at that moment where he's covered in blood with his claymore in his hand like that, and he's just kind of going, ugh. And I just want to punch the cunt.
They may take our lives.
Wrong button. I should have done that a minute ago. I'm just going to make up.
Suffering will be legendary.
Actually, that's a good button for him.
Legendary, even in hell.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm getting excited with my buttons again. Anyone watched my show last night, you know these buttons excite me. I know, that's the best bit, isn't it, Lindsay? We are so inventive in Scotland. Here, there's a claymore. What does that mean? Very big sword. Fucking, we're no very bright. No, we're very bright. We're just not imaginative. Until I was brought into this world and this mind of imagination. Come with me and you'll see. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, we do all that nonsense. He wiggles his sword about, he looks heroic. Then he's knighted. This is actually very true. He does actually get the what do they call it? The wardenship or something. Oh, Jings Crivens. I need to double check because it is a specific name. He's actually his Wallace was knighted. What was it called though? Oh, they've not got it here. It just says he was knighted, but it was a sort of a stewardship or something. Thing is, though, in the movie, they've got him on his knees. Ah, Mr. Wallace, you're now a knight. All very lovely. And then they all start squabbling, and he's like, I'm going to go invade England. I'm going to go and invade England. I'm going to take the fight to them, and I'll show those bloody English. Puff, fluff, and bubble. He actually invaded England first, then he was knighted. But in the movie, they actually show you this epic crusade all the way down to York, which again is crap. I mean, seriously. All right. We're talking about, like, the movie makes it even worse. But it's no much worse. We're talking about a ragtag bunch of Scots, wild, hairy, unorganized, ill-tempered people, okay? And we're expected to form a reasonable army, charge down to England and sack cities with no siege weaponry, with no military experience in siege, and with very little military equipment anyway. Absolutely rubbish. Wallace did invade England, but he didn't really go that far. I mean, to call it an invasion of England, it was more like dipping his pinky toe into England. He kind of just went across the border, burned a few towns and villages, kind of went, oh, you know, we're a wee bit far away from Scotland. I feel like I'm on holiday. I don't like going on holiday. Maybe I'll get a tan. We're not fond of the sun. He's like, you know, I'm missing my haggis. And Flossie's awfully lonely. I mean, I told my wee sheep I'd only be away for a couple of days, and that's basically how far he went. They didn't go that far. They went across the border, burned, was sacked, probably fornicated. Not fornicated, shagged. Fornication is the wrong word. I love the word. It was such a sophisticated sounding word. And basically, they went back to Scotland thinking everything was fine. Of course, it wasn't fine, was it? Because they pissed off Longshanks, the hammer of the Scots. And he's basically saying, you know what, I'm done with these skirt-wearing Scots. Even though they weren't wearing skirts, he's calling us skirt wearers because basically he had seen into the future. So, you know, he was there. And basically, he decides it's going to end and, you know, the next great battle comes into existence. And of course, that is the Battle of Falkirk Bridge. Now, can anyone guess what's about to happen here, folks? You know, Wallace goes down to England, apparently sacks York, burns down the city, cuts off the cousin, sends it back. In fact, he goes to, like, goddamn across the border, has a fish supper, and says, I'm done. You know, and then he goes back, discovers that the English army are basically coming for him, and he's like, right, we're going to set this battle up and we're going to choose Falkirk Bridge, mainly because the first battle at Stirling Bridge went so well tactically, he thought to himself, they'll never see it coming again. And that's when we have, oh, geez, you know what? I've forgotten all the other stuff, haven't I? Before we even get to Falkirk Bridge, we've got him shagging a 9-year-old princess. Sick bastard. That's all I'm saying. Sick fucking bastard. I mean, no, I'm only joking. Like, no, I'm not joking about him being sick. But the reality is you have this whole scene with the French princess who's 9 years old, doesn't even know about Wallace. She's still in France. All this nonsense of her coming and being all nice and falling in love with Wallace. And, of course, because it's Mel Gibson, he's thinking, well, she's a young girl, a young actress. I think I need to... basically get close to that because he's clearly just getting on a bit. You have the whole scene where he basically shags her. She tells him about some trap. He goes back to Scotland. He's like, "Hey, nobles, I just had it off with the French bird and we need to pick a fight with the English again." And, you know,
Are you ready for a war?
he's basically making these speeches. Are you ready for a war? Oh, let's do it. And I've got
Where are you going? I'm going to pick a fight.
all that nonsense is happening, and he's basically getting everyone riled up. You know, and basically you have this epic moment where you have the two armies again faced off at what is the Battle of Falkirk Bridge, with no bridge. Once more, no goddamn bridge, right? So I'm going to change my backdrop, because I actually think this is the most apt backdrop to depict Braveheart, because the film is a bunch of arse. But basically, there's no bridge. You have Longshanks there going, yes, well, we'll destroy these Scots, supposedly with Robert the Bruce beside him, on the English side. Didn't happen. Yes, Robert the Bruce did swap back and forth. He was a Scottish noble. He basically was hedging his bets. He had lands in England and Scotland. He didn't want to piss off Longshanks. This guy was an absolute nightmare, folks. Like, the Hammer of the Scots is not just an affectionate name. He was a horrendous man to rule over the Scots and do all his stuff. But you've got this scene, Falkirk Bridge. It's all going nice. Everyone's good, you know. Oh, we're going to destroy these Scots. We are. And of course, Robert the Bruce is going, yes, yes, yes. Oh, I feel terrible for betraying them. But yes, yes. And then, of course, you get, you know, again, this moment in the battle, and it's like the Scots start to charge, and they're, and then, you know, Longshanks is like, send in the Irish. They cost nothing. And then you get this beautiful moment where the Irish and the Scots meet in the middle of the battlefield, and they're all, oh, how you doing? And one's going, you know, potato, what is it? Potato, potato, potato. And that one's going, haggis, haggis, haggis. Oh, potato, potato, haggis, haggis, potato, 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 haggis, haggis. And basically then they realize that together they make a perfect meal. But again, didn't happen. There was no evidence that the Irish were there, or there was any association or friendship between the Irish. Again, fluff and bubble. So again, you know, the evil Longshanks, send in the rest of them, you know, and remove that bridge, because that bridge is just not really acceptable. It's slowing down my men. Fill in the water and move the bridge. So again, no bridge, right? Okay, we've established that. Falkirk, Stirling, the basics, no bridge. The white transit van in the back, you know, it was just there checking out the battle. That was basically the referees. And they were like, hey, Longshanks, you can't shoot your own men with arrows, you swine. And he's like, I don't care. I'm Longshanks. I'm going for a gin toddy. And basically the battle, you know, goes horribly wrong, because Wallace has set booby traps again. No evidence of that. And then he flaps the flag, and you see the great betrayal of the Scottish nobles, because apparently Longshanks has bought them off. And this, again, there is no evidence for this. This is so fucking annoying, because it really... Right, there's a couple of things in this movie that really piss me off. One, it's the way that they treat this, they envision the Scots to be really so shitty. But the other one is Robert the Bruce, because Robert the Bruce, yes, was a noble, and yes, he did fight with the English and fought against the English. But they really don't do him justice in this movie. They make him out to be a right ass because of the way they do this whole, betraying Wallace. There's no evidence for that. This great betrayal of the nobles, there's no evidence of that either. The reality is, folks, you've got this group of noble guys on their horses with their men watching this battle, and they're seeing this monstrous English army with the knights and the horses and the archers, and they would have probably just went, there's no fucking way. And they would have just made a decision, you know what, no, we're not losing our men. This is a lost battle already, and they would have turned and walked away from it, using sense and logic, knowing that basically it was a lost cause. No bribery, no nonsense, no Robert the Bruce sitting next to Longshanks as Longshanks, didn't hurries and wiping out the Scots. None of that shite happened. This is just all Hollywood claptrap, folks. And as the movie progresses, you know, we get these moments of battle, and Wallace is fighting away heroically with his claymore, swinging it about in close combat. No, like you wouldn't even get a swing before someone stuck something in your gut. You've got Stephen, you know, the Irishman, oh, potato, potato. And he runs off to save Bruce as Bruce sees Longshanks, and then you get that wonderful moment when Robert the Bruce is exposed as a betrayer, and Wallace just, oh, my heart. Oh, it's all over. Robert the Bruce has betrayed me. Oh. Now, here's the thing. If Robert the Bruce had done this, if he was such a dastardly man, why did William Wallace hand over his, and I wish I could find the title name. It's something like stewardship or something like that. It just doesn't seem to goddamn be showing here. I can't find it. I saw it earlier, but basically it was like, when he got knighted, he was made one of the stewards or something of Scotland, and I just can't find the name, the actual proper title. If anyone knows the title, if someone's put it up and I've missed it, do let me know. Not seeing it in the comments. Yes, Paul, and we did, yeah. I mean, let's be honest, we are assholes in Scotland. We get bored, we get drunk, we get angry, and our first thought is, hey, guys, let's go invade England. And everyone's like, great idea. And then 2 days later, when we're all getting butchered in the battlefield with no bridge, we're going, oh, man, this is the worst fucking hangover I've ever had. And, you know, it's just awful. Guardianship. Yeah, the Guardian of the Kingdom. That's it. I knew it was something like Steward Guardian. So basically, Wallace actually handed over his guardianship and endorsed Robert the Bruce. So if the Bruce had done all this nonsense that the film's saying, Wallace wouldn't have done that. So we move on, and basically what we have here is this epic moment in the film, you know, he's betrayed me, it's offy thing, and then you get the scene where the big old father dies, and that's very sad. It's very sad, because he's a great Scottish actor, so very sad. And then you get that moment, and I fucking love this moment. You get that scene where Robert the Bruce is still wearing the English tabards and all that. You know, he's still dressed as the English sort of knight, walking through the battlefield where all the women are looking for their dead husbands and trying to, you know, cut off fingers for jewels. And he's just roaming through looking all despondent, like, oh, what have I done? Oh, wheelie, Jinx Crivens, what have I done? And I'm just watching this going, do you realise the first Scottish person that saw him would have been like, what, right up behind him and stabbed him in the back, not realising that he wasn't Scottish. Like, literally, this idiot is roaming through a decimated Scottish battlefield, surrounded with Scottish people raking through the dead. And he's wearing, I believe, the insignia of the English. And I'm just like, really? Really? Are you serious? Are you that naive as a Hollywood to think that this guy wouldn't have just basically got stabbed in the ass? I mean, literally, he'd have got screwed up. 19, let's be, yeah. yeah. So, yeah, absolute nonsense. So then we move on. Robert the Bruce, furious at his dad. And then you get these lovely sequence. And this, oh, God. So it never happened anyway. We know this, right? Well, I'm just letting you know, the betrayals never happened. But then you get this dramatic scene where Wallace is seeking revenge on these people that betrayed him. As if Wallace has got time while fighting the English, running for his life, etc., trying to build an army to go around slaying nobles that he needs their help from. Absolutely claptrap, the whole thing. Basically just trying to make Mel Gibson look even more heroic. It's like wearing a Flames jersey on. Well, isn't that just like wearing a Flames? No, let's not go there. But yeah, so the movie rolls on and you get all these moments of manicness. And then you get this weird fucking scene. Right. I've never quite understood the montage scene. He has just had the worst loss ever. Right? He's lost Maury. Not that Maury gets any credit in this movie. He's basically had a great defeat. And then you get this beautiful when he's running over the Highland Hills, which are probably not even the Highlands. Most of this was shot in Ireland, so you're just never sure. But basically, in all the background, I heard William Wallace killed 18 men. Oh, really? I was told he clobbered the whole battalion of English with his penis. And you just get this weird montage of heroic statements and Mel Gibson looking windswept. bloody handsome looking. Look at him with his pale blue eyes, which is nonsense, absolute nonsense. Pale blue eyes in Scotland. Oh, boil your head, you badger wearing arsehole. So you get this whole thing, this little montage, you know, and then what was that? There's flames. Oh yeah, it's more fighting and killing, you know, going about his ways. And then you get the whole kind of thing about the English trying to trap him and traps and all that. That probably did happen, you know. But he can smell a trap, you know. He knew when it was coming. So yeah, you get all that stuff. And then, oh, this is the shagging of the French princess. Sorry, I forget it's quite late in the movie. Because apparently he impregnates her. Because that's the great joke at the end. All rubbish. I mean, honestly. Like, no offense. Right. I'm going to be brutally honest. These guys are wearing kilts. It doesn't look like they've washed for months. Now, it's bad enough that they wouldn't be wearing kilts, but let's just take it in the context of the movie. They're wearing kilts. They've been involved in numerous fights. It doesn't look like they changed their kilts. They look awfully dirty, and you're telling me a gentle lady from the court would want to go anywhere near that rancid, fucking sweaty, filthy, probably yeasty cock that a Scotsman has under his kilt during the 13th century, which didn't wear a kilt, after being involved in numerous battles. I mean, I'm sorry, his junk is going to be stinking. It is going to be, I mean, he would lift his kilt and that princess would probably balk. She would vomit on his bizarre leather-clad footwear. And it's just nonsense. She's like, the fact is the guy doesn't even brush his teeth, probably. Like, we're talking about guys that don't understand. The Highlanders, the Scots, we weren't that hygienic. Okay, thank God we are now. But back then, I'm not going to lie. After a full day at the Edmonton Fringe, me roaming about in my kilt and doing my shows, I wouldn't want to go near my bits either. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I get home and I'm straight in the shower. It's no pretty because it's quite a lot of wool to wear. That's all I'm saying, right? Just saying that. But anyway, he gets his rocks off with the French princess, who's 9 years old in reality and still living in the French court, rather than the bonny creature that's over here looking all shy and coy and going, no, 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 and then basically jumps on him like a fucking rampant badger or something like that. I mean, never seen the likes of it. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's not even subtle. It's like, oh, hi, I'm here. And I love the bit he's got his plaid over his head. And he's hiding in the corner, and he's there. He's just there. How can you not see him? Are you blind, woman? But that might be the problem. Maybe they've depicted her as blind and with no sense of. Maybe she's got the COVID. No sense of taste or smell. Her eyesight's slightly going. Who knows? But yeah, there's a wee bit of rumpy-pumpy, yada, 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 because, you know, it's a Mel Gibson film. He's always got to get his shirt off and make it look sexy. And then we move on, you know, Robert the Bruce's dad dies. Oh, and here's another thing, right? Robert the Bruce never visited Edinburgh Castle. I mentioned that, but all these scenes with his dad almost are implied that at Edinburgh Castle, the Bruceys had a castle in Carlisle, quite a considerable distance away from Edinburgh. So why they're always depicting him in Edinburgh Castle, I have no idea. The man never went there. They had a perfectly nice abode in Carlisle and a few estates in England. And somewhere else that I can't remember at the moment, but not in Edinburgh. Nonsense. And then you get this beautiful scene where the princess is walking about and she's all happy and smiling. She's touching her belly and she's caressing herself. I'm rubbing my nipples. Don't get panicky. But yeah, you get all this kind of you just get all this weird shit going on. And then we move on, you know, Edward Longshanks is starting to die, and then you get the ultimate betrayal where the messenger comes and basically says, oh, the Bruce wants to support you in your battles, and blah, blah. Again, painting the Bruce to be this horrible, horrible, horrible man. But basically, you know, they invite him back, and he gets captured in the movie. Now, He evaded England, the English capture for many times. It was in, I'm actually reading this, 1305. So 1305, he evaded English capture. Until he evaded English capture, right? So technically in the real world, not the full, what would they have it as? 1280, they said. So basically 25 years. Wait a minute. Hold the boat a minute, right? They have this movie starting in 1280. 1305 is when William Wallace. That doesn't make any sense. Like, there's a whole 10 years missing in this man's life. That's just crazy. But yes, basically he was just caught. I can't remember how he was caught now. Oh, sorry, yeah. It doesn't actually say how he was caught properly. But basically, he's caught. He's taken down to England. You know, in the movie, they've got him being betrayed by Robert the Bruce, a horrible, horrible thing again. But basically, he's not. He's just caught. It's an English knight catches him. Basically, Robert the Bruce curses his father, yada, yada, yada. Wallace is taken down to England. And basically, you know, he's put on trial. And of course, he makes that great statement. And it's like, but how can it be, what is it? How can it be treason? I've never sworn loyalty to that king. See, I can't even do a fake Scottish accent. My fake Scottish accent is probably worse than Mel Gibson's. I'll be brutally honest. It's probably worse, but let's just. But yeah, he's like, oh, I never swear loyalty to the king, and that's very true. And it goes on from there, and then the French princess, she comes in and she says, no, take this poison, or take this thing and it'll ease your pain. And Wallace is like, bugger you lassie, I've had a deep fries Mars bar, I know pain. And it kind of goes on like that, you know. So as the movie rolls, you get all these beautiful scenes, and the music's playing la 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 la. It's all gorgeous. It's just a beautiful thing, man. Absolutely wonderful. And you know, Longshanks is in his bed, and his son's hovering over him, kind of going, "Die, you old bastard, die!" Because he wants the throne, you know. And we all know what happened then. Again. Nonsense. I just want to point this out. Longshanks actually died, I think it was 2 years after Wallace. So absolute bloody nonsense. But yeah, so it moves on. And now here's the best bit about this goddamn movie. So the French princess does that wee sneaky bit is, yes, William Wallace might die, but the sperm he put in my bits has certainly created a life form after how many days? Like she already knows. I know it's possible, but it just, the time frame's not explained properly, and it almost feels like he fucked her. The next day she's going, oh, I'm pregnant. But that is the Scottish super sperm. It's a phenomena that not a lot of people know about, but the Scottish do have super sperm. It's a phenomenal thing. Basically, it's just a delight, and you don't ever want to encounter it. Traumatizing for most people. But yeah, and of course Longshanks are like, because he can't say anything. Apparently he's lost the speech, lost his speech. Again, nonsense, you know, 2 years early. But yes, the movie moves on, and then we have this beautiful moment where Wallace is now taken out for execution. And by all standards, this is when the movie gets weird, because they've made a complete travesty of William Wallace. At the end of it all, a complete travesty. And then for some reason, they've gone ridiculous OTT and everything else. But when it comes to his execution, they're like, whoa, you know what? We're going to make this a Disney movie now. We're going to make this Disney execution. Because the reality is, what happened to William Wallace was horrific. It was traumatizing. It was like, the people watching, like, yeah, like there was vomit, there was fainting, it was crazy. But in the movie, they're all like, oh, could we just make it all sweet? So, here's the reality, folks. In the movie, They show you him getting hung a wee bit. They show you him getting drawn a wee bit. And then they kind of imply that he's getting gutted, and then they cut off his head after he makes that beautiful, the prisoner wants to speak. And everyone's like, oh, what's he going to say? Oh, is he going to mercy? Is he going to say, oh, forgive me, oh, great long shanks. I was wrong. You were right. As his guts are, you know. But of course, apparently, going through all this, and I'll explain the proper process in a minute, but going through all this, having your guts pulled out, Mel Gibson has enough oxygen left in his lungs to utter the monumental moment, and I don't even have a sound bite of this one because I just couldn't bear it, but it's that blood curdling fucking nonsense. Nonsense. Let me explain what happened to William Wallace properly. He was hung, drawn, and quartered. Now, if that sounds like a delightful process, it is not. So basically, what happened to him is he was dragged naked through the streets of London, probably getting spat on and thumped with crap and stones, you know, incredibly agonizing. His flesh getting bruised and torn and ripped, dragged behind the horses. He was then hung. Now, it wasn't the dropping hang. It was, as the film kind of depicted it, they at least kind of semi-researched. They would pull them up, raise them up by the neck to stretch their necks and kind of suffocate them, but not fully, because they wanted them alive. It was a painful process. They would be stretching the body as well as they did this, kind of wrenching it, and it was just very agonizing. Now, once you had gone through this process, they would then put you down on a table. Now, Wallace this all happened to him, and he was in agony by this point already, because he's probably had a few bones and muscles and legs and that popped out their sockets. Very, very uncomfortable. But then they decide, you know what? That fucker shagged the French princess and got her pregnant. Off with his bits. Now, we know that's not true. But they actually, they cut off his bits. They literally castrated him in front of everyone while he's still alive. No anesthetic. That's really sore, guys. That's going to hurt. They cut off his bits. But after they'd done that, they then start cutting into his guts and basically pulling all his bits out and all that. Until eventually, you know, he shouts out freedom, because he's obviously got enough oxygen and sense after being dragged through the streets, after being stretched and hung, after having his cock and balls sliced off. You know, after getting knives stuck in and basically his guts and all that starting to be pulled out of him, he's got enough in him to basically go, do you know what, guys? I have got the best and most memorable line to finish this off. This one's gonna go down in history books. In years to come, I reckon there's gonna be a guy called, like, I don't know, Willie Shakespeare or something, and he will write about this moment. Someone's gonna write about an American ancestor, crap writer with the surname Wallace. He's gonna write about this moment. And all I need to do is just take a deep breath, not imagining that probably his lungs have been semi-sliced open as well, because they're not this isn't surgery, folks. They are basically hacking in and gouging and tearing, and they are not being pleasant. But Wallace is there at the moment, and he's thinking, oh God, right, wait a minute, he's going to ask again, does the prisoner have any words to say? And Wallace, in absolute agony with no cock and balls, his guts fucking flying everywhere, his lungs probably punctured, dying and writhing in so much agony, he's like, that's my cue. And that's the exact moment he leans back and utters freedom for the whole of London to hear and go, what the fuck is he on about? Because none of them would have had a goddamn idea why this mad Scottish man who is basically getting torn apart shouted freedom. It makes absolutely no sense. At least he could have made something useful like fuck you guys or something, just something worthwhile. You know, make a joke. You know, I don't know, but freedom, nobody would have got it. Absolute friggin' nonsense. Wait a minute, guys. Just gonna give me a minute here, just while I just get this out of my system. Okay, now we're back. But yeah, there's the reality. What happened to Wallace after that is basically after his cock and balls, after he was kind of ripped apart, they then basically beheaded him. They then hacked his body apart. Okay, this wasn't subtle. They are basically slicing and hacking and ripping this man's body apart now. And they took the limbs and they sent them to the four corners of the United Kingdom as a message. They took his head, which is probably still with a big smile on his face going, freedom on his lips, because he thinks he's just pulled off the greatest ending line in the world, when in fact London's going, I'm still not sure what freedom's all about. Which, I mean, the guy's about to die. How's he free? Oh, that make no sense to me. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's rubbish. So they take his head, they stick it on a spike. I think it was on London Bridge as a kind of point. I always thought it was a bit weird. You know, the guy's dead. Why stick? Because, like, you know what? For anyone who's dealt with him, they'll be like, oh, geez, I've got to see his face again. Oh, for God's sake, makes no sense. But there you have it. Basically, old Willie Wallace gets hacked up in the movie. Mel Gibson cries out. All the people in London are going, mercy, mercy. Well, most of them are thinking, kill the asshole. Like, I know I am. I don't know how many of you have watched Braveheart, but see, at this point, I'm just like, please kill him. Kill him. Just do it. Do it. Right? That's not William Wallace. That is Mel Gibson. Please. You just sometimes want the ending to change where actually the axe was real. Wouldn't that just be delightful? Oh, it'd be so good. But yeah, Willie Wallace gets killed, yada, yada. He looks into the crowd. He sees his wife, you know, just before he shouts freedom. I forgot about that beautiful moment. Oh, as his wife, Murren's walking through going, and what? Okay, guys, this bit also gets me. She smiles at him. Right, so she is literally the spirit of his dead wife is walking through the crowd, watching him get his fucking balls cut off, watching his guts get ripped out, basically about to see him get executed, and she's like, and it's like, you sick bitch. Like, that's just brutal. That is, like, you have to think what an asshole Wallace was if that's what his wife, she's like, yes, finally, he's got his comeuppance. The English commander at the Bannockburn scene was the production accountant who they recruited. Oh, my God. Well, that's something else, like, that's the best bit. You know, after all this, we then go to the final scene. You know, that beautiful moment, you know.
You have bled with Wallace. Now bleed with me.
Seriously. You have bled with Wallace. Now bleed with me. And they'll all be thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, we saw what happened to Wallace. Game over. So basically, this is Bannockburn. Now, this is what they're depicting as Bannockburn. And as you can see once more, and I love this, right? Anyone that knows me, you know I tell a story about Bannockburn. I tell a story about Robert the Bruce. So here we have Robert the Bruce, right? Sitting looking miserable. And this end scene always gets me. He looks fucking miserable. He's in his armor and he's all out. It looks like he's had a really bad case of the runs. And he's like, I don't want to be in this horse. My arse is burning. Oh, this is miserable. And he's just fed up, looking horrible. And again, you've got this army of the Scots facing off against the army of the English. And again, that's nonsense. Bannockburn was crazy. The Scots had got there early. Where's Stirling Castle? Right? Where's the Tor Woods? Where's the woods that the Scots were camped in? Basically, where's all the ditches and defences they'd built? Also, this isn't how it happened. Let me tell you about Bannockburn very quickly. The Scots army basically didn't line up and face the English. The Scots army created schiltrons originally, circles of spiky, porcupine, fucking madmen. And basically, we routed the English. There was none of this kind of lineup nonsense. There was none of this. It was a very tactical and set up. And Robert the Bruce wouldn't have been looking miserable. He'd have been looking scared shitless because he was injured already after hacking off a goddamn ramming an axe into a guy's head the day before. The Scots would have been cheering and jeering because they were already riled up, ready for a fight. And you've got this awful image of these miserable looking Scots in kilts with this miserable looking actor, and he's a great actor, don't get me wrong, but he just looks so weird. Honestly, it does look like he's got a bad case of the runs, and he's on his horse, and then he makes this,
You have bled with Wallace. Now bleed with me.
and all the Scots go, ah, yes, because that's logical. We saw what happened in the last battle. Oh, yes, man. We are following you into battle because you mentioned William Wallace, and he didn't die horribly. And then, of course, my favourite bit is when Big Hamish grabs the claymore from his back. He walks forward and he lobs it majestically, and it arcs through the air. Oh, it's so beautiful. And then it lands perfectly in the ground. Wibble, 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 with the little bit of Wallace's tartan on it. Oh, it's so beautiful. And again, balderdash. Like, honestly, I used to work in the armories. We played with big swords, and we actually decided one day to try this. We took a claymore, a lowland claymore, because that's kind of what Wallace is kind of the design. It's always been classed as a lowland claymore, just with a simple crossguard rather than the downward with the quillions at the end. And we took one of them, and we basically took turns, 4 or 5 different guys of varying sizes, to lob a claymore and see what we could do. We literally managed to get it to go. That was it. You could get it to take air, but basically it was a bloody awkward thing because they're big, they're heavy, and they're not designed for a beautiful arcing trajectory. It's just not the done thing. Also, what sort of arsehole throws a perfectly good sword when steel and weaponry is limited at that time in history? Those were expensive. We had to bring them in from Germany, and to throw it across a battlefield like that is frankly just reckless. On the hill behind the set, Warren. Maybe I'm out of context here because I've gone on. Wibble wibble. Wobble wobble clank. Yeah. So yeah, absolute nonsense. Also the flex of the blade, just nonsense. Claymores were a lot they were heavier duty. The reason you can't actually find many historical claymores anymore is because we were so cheap. You know this about the Scots. Copper wire was invented because we fought over a penny. But basically, we took the blades and we cut them down and made the Basket Hill broadswords or Basket Hill claymores from the later time periods because we didn't have the metal or the money to make new weapons. But yeah, you've got that majestic scene, and then of course the movie ends, and this is what gets my fucking goat. Where is it? I think it's this soundbite.
In the year of our Lord, 1314, patriots of Scotland, starving and outnumbered, charged the fields of Bannockburn. They fought like warrior poets. They fought like Scotsmen, and won their freedom.
Now, Mr. Gibson, you really need to go back to school, you fucking muppet, because frankly what you have said there is kind of nonsense. Yes, 1314, the Scots did take to the field at Bannockburn. They weren't necessarily starving and hungry, reasonably well fed. Honestly, we weren't digging in the fucking mud for grubs. What sort of imagery does Braveheart try and paint of Scotland? I mean, it's like all ramshackle huts. Edinburgh Castle was a fucking shanty town. All the other places were hobbit holes. Bullshit. Warrior poets? Are you fucking kidding me? Warrior poets? Like, half of these men couldn't probably even string a sentence together, let alone wax lyrical. I mean, we weren't exactly the most eloquent bunch at the time. You know Scottish sex, it's Marva. Get your helmet on, I'm coming in. That's basically the whole basis of our world, okay? Warrior poets, I love the imagery, I do. I mean, it's very romantic. But it's, I mean, seriously, like, read Blind Harry, who created this whole Wallace myth. Read it. It's not even that eloquent, and he's called a poet. So to call these warriors warrior poets, they charged the field at Bannockburn. Not technically true. We were a wee bit nervous. We were a wee bit unsure. We had great big sort of like poles. We cut down some trees. We whittled the end. We basically thought that might help us. Very tactical. There was no charging as such. We actually pushed the English back for once, but we also booby-trapped the whole field because we were scared shitless of them. Like, have you ever seen like 400 charging horses with armor? People with armor on them? That's not a pleasant sight. We were basically wearing sackcloth, according to Mr. Goddamn Mel Gibson. What else did he say there?
In the year of our Lord, 1314, patriots of Scotland, starving and outnumbered, charged the fields of Bannockburn. They fought like warrior poets. They fought like Scotsmen, and won their freedom.
Okay, that's it, yeah. Well, like Scotsman and won their freedom. Okay, can I go back to the warrior poets? I don't know what Australian poetry is like, but if shit, fuck, cunt, ouch is poetry in Australia, yes, the guys were probably warrior poets. The expletives, the pain, the screams, the defecation in our kilts, which we weren't wearing, then we're poets. Okay, we're warrior poets. But here's the best bit. Why are you telling me to do that? Go away. I'm doing a show. Don't tell me about backup reminders. But here's the best bit, folks, right? We won our freedom. No, we didn't. So Robert the Bruce won the day at Bannockburn. Edward II, that effeminate fop, had screwed over England and the English army so much that they were almost in a civil war. He, seeing the battle was routed, ran back to England like the Jesse he was, and then for the rest of his days refused to acknowledge Robert the Bruce as the King of Scotland or Scotland's freedom. It was in fact his son, who was basically an immaculate conception, if you believe Braveheart, was the king that actually acknowledged the Bruce and basically gave Scotland a little bit more of its freedom in that respect. Edward II, though, did meet a grisly end. They say he got a hot poker up the woo. But you know what? That's life. So yeah, again, that whole statement by Mr. Gibson is absolute nonsense, and I decree he needs to go back to school or just go and play with gophers. Robbie Burns with a bare bodkin. It is, though. Warrior poets, Warren. What sort of nonsense is that? I mean, these, honestly, I mean, this is the 13th century, right? These guys probably couldn't even wipe their arses properly. I mean, we were talking about a lot of fucking people from farms, from rural communities, uneducated, people that were just banding together to have a good scrap because the Scots did.
Where are you going?
Like to do
You want to
this.
pick a fight?
It's a whole world. Like, basically, we like to argue with people. We like to pick fights. That's just the world, man. It's just the world. But at the end of the day, folks, what can we really say about Braveheart? It won Mel Gibson something like 5 awards. It is a movie with an amazing score, an amazing group of actors, excluding Mel Gibson. It is a movie which is moving. The basic principle behind it is amazing. It gives you a sense of Scotland, gives you beautiful scenery, gives you a feeling of this great country. I mean, it's historically wrong. You couldn't get more historically wrong. Like, you could have put Leonidas in this movie and it probably would have been a wee bit more historical, right? You know what I mean? It's like, it is what it is. And I'm going to be brutally honest. I actually like it. I like the movie. I can't help it. It's a great Scottish movie. It did amazing things for Scotland. Like, I kid you not, this movie, sadly, I've got to sit back and say it is a good movie because this movie single-handedly made Scotland's economy since it was released. This is the movie that basically boosted Scotland's tourism through the roof. And then you get things like Outlaw King and all these other movies, and they've done a good job. But you know, as much as I hate it, I hate the mistakes, and I hate all the balderdash. It's undertones as a story works. It is what it is. It's a beautiful, powerful, heroic tale. I mean, it's all fluff and all fluff and buggle, and it's all nonsense, but nobody can lie and say, oh, you know, you don't watch Braveheart and enjoy it, because it's a good movie and it's fun and it's a nice movie. And I just wish they hadn't put bloody Mel Gibson in the main role, but he was in the height of his career and everyone wanted Mel Gibson. And I still laugh that this won so many goddamn awards. I still don't know why. And maybe probably in America, because this is how Americans think Scotland is. They think we've been wearing kilts since we basically learned to fucking crawl out of the swamps, I think. But it is a good movie. Score's great. I actually enjoy watching it. I do get annoyed at it. I do get annoyed at aspects of it. But if you take it for what I call a historical fantasy, I mean, it needs a dragon. I'm going to say it again. It needs a dragon. But the reality is, no, Trainspotting did wonders for the heroin industry, not the tourism industry. But yeah, Braveheart it's a fun, interesting, enjoyable movie with so many historical inaccuracies. As I say, the writer admitted, he said, fuck it. And he wrote another movie after that. Paul, if you're still about, what was the other movie they mentioned? And it was a Second World War movie or something which they kept completely accurate. So it was almost like, well, the Second World War, it's probably because it had America in it or something. I kid you not. See if they'd put an American actor, not an American character in this movie, it would have probably been historically accurate. And it would have they would have put Maury as an American. Trainspotting was a good movie, yeah. Outlander's overtaken Braveheart because Outlander actually really kind of used Scotland. Braveheart, a lot of it was filmed in Ireland, so it wasn't even in Scotland. So the whole thing is just a great big lie. We were soldiers. That's it. Thank you, Paul. And they kept that completely accurate, apparently. The same writer, but this they made into a goddamn historical fantasy. A good movie, a fun movie, an amazing soundtrack, great actors, minus Mel Gibson. I'm getting cramp in my foot for some reason. Jings Crivens. How's that happening? Probably because I've sweated out all my salts. I am a moist, sweaty Scotsman tonight. Oh my God, there's got to be a, I don't know. I've got all these sound bites and I can't even find the right ones. Oh my God. Jeez. Let's just do that.
Christ, I'm getting all emotional from it, you know?
You want me to review Rob Roy? You know, this could become a thing because actually, this was actually quite fun with the movie in the background, making nonsense. It's just annoying. I can't have the movie scenes shown due to copyright. I know they did that in one show, but I've not been able to find anywhere that it will allow me to actually. Oh, wow, look, my green screen. I didn't realize it's messing up it's picking up weirdness on my face. Why did I put these arseholes behind me? But yeah, I should probably do this with more movies because this has been quite fun and enjoyable. But yes, Braveheart. How do you rate Braveheart? Historical fantasy. Bad face paint. Oh, there. Yeah. Oh, face paint. I forgot the face paint. No. Seriously. For one, it's the wrong color for woad. Two, we're talking hundreds of years since the Scots would have worn woad, and that was the Picts. This is all nonsense. I mean, like, honestly, I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is more accurate than Braveheart. So yeah, a whole pile of nonsense and fun and delightfulness, all wrapped up in a Mel Gibson fucking great big jobby. That's it. Basically, great movie apart from the jobby that plays Braveheart, and I'm probably going to get sued by Mel Gibson because he seems to be that type of guy that will come after me and sue me. So basically, I'm just going to say this, Mel, you can sue me all you want. I've got nothing. I'm a performer. I'm like an artist. Like, well, that's maybe a broad statement. So I'm skint. So it's not going to happen. Okay, what we got here? Oh, you know what? I forgot I had my phone on for phone calls. I'd forgotten that, Paul. Yeah, I had actually forgotten about that. Yeah. Just checking the comments. Lovely, lovely. So, folks, I'm going to sign off now. I hope you have enjoyed this rant. I have tried to keep it as clean as possible. I'm actually surprised this was not used more. Probably because I just forgot it and I've sworn. As I mentioned, this could be the last Facebook video I do after I get banned. Potentially Mel Gibson hunts me down and kills me with a claymore, which is oversized and wobbly. He might sneak into my room with face paint and a kilt on, who knows, and a dead fox on his head. Maybe I'll get sued by the movie companies for being so rude and abusive about Braveheart because it's so accurate. And basically, what does a Scotsman know about history that an American doesn't? Just the usual stuff. What we got here? The pics, it was wood. A lot of the references basically reference wood was what they would use on their face as well. So I don't know if that's what you're meaning, Lindsay, or the Braveheart one, because the Braveheart color is definitely fucking not. Outlaw King's not a bad one. Excellent. Oh, turkey boots, man. You did that. Wait a minute. Turkey.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Yeah, the soundboard is active. And that's what we're given for Braveheart. Oh, my God. So, ladies and gents, I'm going to sign off now. I hope you've enjoyed this. That's going to be the card just for me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to. You know what? There's many cards.
I got a crap on deck that could choke a donkey.
Aye. So, folks, I'm going to sign off. Leave you to discuss Braveheart, to have fun. Oh, Braveheart color. Yes, sorry. I thought that's what you were meaning, Lindsay. I just wanted to check. Yeah, the Braveheart colors. I don't know. Maybe they had a Home Depot. Or a B&Q in Scotland that they went to and just found some paint and went, oh, that'll do. And it's like, really? That's like sky blue, Mr. Gibson. And he's, oh, who gives a damn? I mean, we had to drop the dragon and, and Gandalf from the movie. So we just may as well have like at least some sort of reference to the Scottish Pictish warriors that you, motherfucker. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining. It has been an absolute pleasure. I apologize to anyone that I may have insulted in the making of this show. The show's opinions are purely my own and most of Scotland's and most of the world's. And if anyone is insulted by this show, by my swearing, by my gratuitous sexual references, by my rants and raves, you do realize there is Disney Plus that you can go and watch. You didn't need to sign in. Love you all, guys. You all have an amazing night. I need to get phone calls the next show that I do. My next show is on Thursday, potentially. I'm supposed to have Lothar on my Scotsman Talks to, but we're not sure what's happening with the show at the moment. So I'm still in the process. I might end season 1 and revamp it and kick off later on in the year because I think the show needs a bit of a change after some feedback from you fabulous and wonderful people. Another one with turkey boots. Yes, mate, you will always be welcome on my shows because you are just a fabulous man.
My darling, I love you. Where have I been all your life?
Yeah, I know. I love this board. I love down it. Or maybe the love affair should be this one.
Pull down my trousers and do your job.
Just because we were talking about IT Crowd and Toast of London, Mr. Turkey. Okay, folks, I'm signing off. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you for joining. Thank you for enduring. Thank you for all your wonderful comments. Thank you for all the time, which is now 2 hours and 8 minutes of. You know what? I'm only 50 minutes shy of the actual Braveheart movie. That's all I'm going to say. We could have done the whole movie scene by scene pretty well. I broke it down. And you know what? I think we got through it. So thank you very much, guys. This has been a crazy rant. I hope you've enjoyed it. I think I was a lot tamer than I could be because I am trying to be sophisticated for once. I'm trying to be a warrior poet. And as you can tell, I'm starved. I'm a starved warrior poet, as Mel Gibson says. Oh my God. I love that soundbite. Where is it? Where is that soundbite? Oh my God. It's just that I still can't get over it.
In the year of our Lord, 1314, patriots of Scotland, starving and outnumbered, charged the fields of Bannockburn.
They never mentioned
like
the French warriors,
poets.
actually, you know, the French nobles that
fought
joined
like
in or anything
Scotsmen.
like that. No, it was just starved
And won
patriots
their
of Scotland. A ragtag, scrawny little bunch of hairy men who couldn't catch any haggis and basically said, oh, let's pick a fight. Ladies and gents, it's been fun. It's been great. I want to thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you all soon.